I remember that night like it is still breathing against my neck. The room was quiet, too quiet, except for the ticking clock on my wall. I sat cross-legged on the edge of my bed, staring at the little orange bottle in my hand. My fingers trembled, but not from fear, from exhaustion. My chest felt hollow, my stomach a knot of anger and despair. For years I had told myself that life had no meaning, that when we died, we simply stopped existing. But that night in August of 2023, I wanted to make that nothingness come faster. The loneliness was heavy, like a wet blanket I could not shake off. I thought of all the people who had walked away from me, all the times I had failed, and all the ways I had numbed the pain with alcohol and meaningless distractions. I twisted the cap open, tears blurring my vision. "This is it," I whispered. What I did not know was that I was about to open my eyes in a place I had never believed was real. Before I go any further, I just want to take a moment to appreciate every single one of you watching. To my returning viewers, thank you for sticking with this channel. To those who are new here, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It might seem small, but it is the fuel that keeps this channel alive and helps us share these testimonies with the world. And please, do not just watch. Share your thoughts in the comments. I love reading them. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Katie. I am 43 years old and I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. I was raised without any kind of faith. My parents divorced when I was 6, and my father disappeared from my life. My mother worked double shifts just to keep the lights on, so I grew up learning to take care of myself. By my 20s, I had built a life that looked impressive from the outside, a good job in real estate, a decent apartment, a car I was proud of. But behind closed doors, I was empty. I had this philosophy that God was just a fantasy for people who could not handle reality. Whenever someone tried to talk to me about Jesus, I would laugh and change the subject. Still, there were cracks in my armor. A close friend betrayed me in my 30s, stealing money from a joint investment we had started. That betrayal hardened me even more. I developed a habit of drinking every night just to sleep. Relationships were short-lived because I would not let anyone get close. I told myself I was fine, but the truth was, I was drowning in my own bitterness. August 2023 was the month everything collapsed. The stress of debt, loneliness, and the gnawing feeling that my life had no purpose became unbearable. That is what led me to that night, to the edge of my bed, pills in my hand, ready to end it all. I thought I was about to drift into nothingness. I was wrong. The moment the pills slid down my throat, a cold heaviness began to spread through my body. My head grew light, my vision blurred, and the world around me tilted. I remember lying back on the bed thinking, this will all be over soon. But instead of fading into darkness and nothingness like I had imagined for years, I found myself suddenly awake, but not in my bedroom. It was dark. Not the kind of darkness you experience when you turn off the lights at night, but a thick, suffocating blackness that seemed to cling to my skin. My chest tightened, and I realized I could not breathe normally. The air was hot, heavy, and stank of sulfur and something far worse, the unmistakable stench of burning flesh. Somewhere in the distance, I heard it. A scream, long, piercing, and filled with a kind of pain I had never imagined. Then another, and another. The sound rose and fell like waves, echoing endlessly. My heart pounded. As my eyes adjusted, faint glows began to appear around me, like flickers of fire far off in the distance. But those glows illuminated shapes, moving shapes. Some looked human, their bodies twisted, their faces frozen in silent cries as they stumbled through the shadows. Others were not human at all. That is when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, but what I saw made my knees buckle. A figure stood there, hunched over, its eyes like burning coals, its mouth stretching into an unnatural grin that revealed jagged, glistening teeth. Its skin was leathery and blackened, like it had been burned over and over again. It spoke, but not with words. It was as if its voice bypassed my ears and sank straight into my skull. "You do not leave here." Panic surged through me. I tried to move, but the ground beneath my feet felt soft, almost like flesh, and it seemed to pull me down. The heat grew unbearable, making my skin prickle as if it were beginning to blister. Suddenly, I heard chains dragging across the ground, the metallic clink growing louder. From the shadows emerged more creatures, their bodies towering, wings tattered, their claws wrapped around chains that bound dozens of screaming souls. The demons laughed, a sound so cold and mocking it sent shivers through me despite the heat. That is when I realized I was one of them. In an instant, memories flashed before my eyes. Every lie I had told, every grudge I had clung to, every hateful thought I had nurtured, they all came rushing back, pressing down on me like a crushing weight. There was no arguing, no defending myself. Deep down, I knew it. I was guilty. The ground beneath me began to crack, revealing a pit of flames below. The roar of the fire was deafening, and the heat rose like an angry tide. I could hear voices in the pit, some crying out for mercy, others cursing God. The hopelessness in those voices was worse than the fire. One of the demons reached for me, its claws wrapping around my arm. My skin burned at its touch, and I screamed. My voice joined the chorus of wails echoing all around me. And then the atmosphere shifted. A faint sound, so out of place in that world of torment, began to grow behind me, like a whisper carried by a breeze. The whisper grew louder, cutting through the roar of the flames and the screams of the damned. It was not the mocking voice of a demon. It was pure, steady, and it carried something I had not felt in years: hope. The demon gripping my arms snarled, its head snapping toward the sound as if it were in pain. Then a light, blinding and white, unlike any fire in that place, began to pierce the darkness. It grew brighter and brighter until it hurt to keep my eyes open. The ground beneath me shook, and the grip on my arm loosened. I fell to my knees, covering my face, but the voice came again, strong and unmistakable. "Katie, your time has not yet come, but if you return, you must tell them I am real." It was not just a voice I heard. I felt it in my bones, in my heart. It was love and authority in one, and it made every lie I had believed about God melt away. The light enveloped me, lifting me from the suffocating ground. The screams faded. The heat vanished. My body felt weightless as I was drawn upward, away from the shadows. The last thing I saw was the demons recoiling, their twisted faces filled with rage. Then I opened my eyes. I was in a hospital bed. My throat was sore, an IV in my arm. The steady beeping of the heart monitor filled the room. A nurse looked at me with wide eyes and whispered, "You are lucky to be alive." My stomach churned as fragments of the encounter flooded my mind. Tears ran down my face uncontrollably. I knew what I had seen, and I knew who had saved me. From that moment on, my life changed completely. I prayed, really prayed for the first time. There were no fancy words, just broken ones. "Jesus, I believe. I am yours." I quit drinking. I cut off relationships that kept me in bitterness. I started reading the Bible and joined a small Bible-believing church here in Nevada. I forgave people I had sworn I would hate until my last breath. The more I learned about Jesus, the more I realized that his rescue was not just about sparing me from hell, it was about giving me a reason to live now. Now, I cannot keep silent. I tell anyone who will listen that hell is real and heaven is real. Life is short, but eternity never ends. Let me say this to you. If you think being good will keep you safe, you are wrong. Hell does not care how good you think you are. Without Jesus, you are not safe. The scariest part of hell was not the fire. It was knowing it was forever. Friend, God is real. He still saves. He still answers. But you must choose him. I want to ask you, what do you believe about eternity? And if you were to die tonight, are you sure you know where you would go? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. I truly read every single one. If this testimony touched you, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Doing so will help this message reach people who desperately need to hear it. Someone's life might change because you shared it.